In this video, I'm gonna show you my best tips when it comes to handling angry customers. And you wanna make sure you watch this video until the end, because if you ever dealt with an angry prospect or an angry customer who may act very unreasonable, I'm gonna show you exactly how to approach the situation and the tactics that I personally use to amend those situations and make it better. And best of all, you're not only going to learn how to apply this into the business world, but you're also gonna learn how to apply it in your everyday life as well. What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick Dang here. So before we get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like this, and let's get started. So if you want to handle conflict, the first thing you have to learn how to do is understand and identify where conflict is coming from. And a lot of times, by default, conflict actually comes from miscommunication. When people have different expectations on how things should go, or when somebody says one thing but they mean another and it's a mismatch, this is typically where conflict arises from. Now, if you have a lot of empathy and you can really understand where someone is coming from and you see it from their perspective, it's very difficult to have some kind of conflict because you really understand their perspective and you can navigate accordingly. It's only when you have a strong opinion and the other person has a very strong opinion and they don't really align that well, and that's typically where I observe where people have the most conflict. And by identifying where these conflicts are coming from, you're gonna be able to take the right actions to make the situation better. Now, when it comes to actually solving conflict, before you even do anything, you need to understand what your goals are, and you wanna understand what the other person's goal is, right? And this is where you wanna relate this idea to empathy, okay? So if you know what exactly you want, right? So you're gonna be saying the right things to, work towards your goal, right? Because you have a certain motivation. Now, not only do you have to consider what you feel, you have to look at it from the other perspective, see how the other person is thinking about it, and understand what they want, right? Because, just like them, they have their own motivations as well. If you don't know what someone's motivation is, it's very difficult to say the right things to make a situation better because you're not really sure what they want. And so by identifying what they want, if you can give that to them while getting what you want as well, that's how you resolve a conflict. But if you don't understand what the other person wants, they're always going to have some type of conflict with you. So once you identified what the conflict actually is, you understand what the goals are of the other person and yourself, the next step of the process is to share how you feel instead of blaming others, okay? So human beings, I think we have the natural tendency to blame other people instead of taking responsibility of a situation. So instead of blaming, just don't blame at all. Try to get to the truth, right? It's not about, who's right and who's wrong. Just throw that out of your head. Instead, what you wanna do is think about, okay, what is the truth in this situation and what can both sides do to collaborate together to come out with a solution? And how you do that is, especially during conflict, is you want to share how you feel. Don't make the mistake of just, forcing someone and saying, hey, you're wrong, I'm right, and this and that. Instead, you can share your opinion without putting another person down. You share how you feel without blaming another person, okay? So let's say I'm in an argument with a friend and this person is yelling at me and I feel like they're being unreasonable. Instead of yelling at them back, instead of blaming them for being mean to me, I could say, hey, look, right now, the way you're speaking to me actually is really hurting me, and I feel like it's really hurting our relationship, right? So if you say something like that, it's very difficult for someone to continue to attack you. The other person might get defensive and they might say something like, oh, I'm not attacking you, you're being a baby, this and that. And you could say, well, why do I feel like that, right? Why do I feel like what you're saying is really hurting me? So how you feel is a fact. You feel hurt by what someone said. That is a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not just a perspective. It is a fact. You feel hurt, right? And so now you're coming from a place of facts, but you're allowing to share your emotions from a very factual perspective without having to put another person down to do that. So let's, in a business example, right? So let's say you have a client and maybe they're not happy with the services that you're providing, or maybe you didn't get the result that you promised, okay? So a customer comes at you and they're angry, oh, we wasted so much money, we could have went with this other vendor and this and that. And you could say something like, I understand your concern. I understand how you feel and that obviously you want a certain result based on what we promised you. But if we're gonna make this right, I feel like it's important for both sides to, calm down a little bit so that we can actually find a solution. And by the way you're speaking, I feel like it's actually making it a little bit difficult to handle the situation, and it's actually straining our relationship. So moving forward, is it all right if we both calm down, share our experiences, and then we'll find a solution and work together on this? Is that okay with you? And so with that customer, maybe they're really angry because they didn't get a result that they wanted. If you come from a perspective like that, it's very difficult for them to continue to attack you, right? And if they continue to attack you, or they say, oh no, I'm not being mean to you, you just didn't do your job, and you could say, like I did before, then why do I feel like the way you're saying it is really straining our relationship? Then they have to be forced to think about what they're doing and become aware that, oh, actually, if they want the result and they already paid the money, it's actually more beneficial to calm down, work together, and find a solution versus just blaming another person. So, if you kind of break down those steps, empathize with the person, understand what their goals are, do the right thing and actually try to help them, and then share how you feel to disarm the other person and make them realize that, hey, if they want to come out of this from a positive perspective, they gotta chill out and work together on this, right? There's no sense in yelling at each other when it's not necessary to get the best end result. And from, coaching many different people and, observing life, I find that the reason for why many people get into a conflict, or sometimes it feels like the same people are always getting into trouble, is actually because they tend to always want to be right. So this is exactly what you don't want to do, right? So when you are in a conflict with a customer or a prospect and there's some kind of disagreement, miscommunication, whatever it is, I would avoid trying to be right in a situation, right? You do not want to be in a position where you're saying, ha ha ha, you're wrong and I'm right. In a way that's very immature, because one, you're putting another person down. It's a zero-sum game, right? So for you to win, someone has to lose. And that is just not the right mentality if you want to have a win-win situation. Instead, you want to say, okay, forget about being right or wrong. Let's focus on the truth, or as close to the truth that we can get. And then with what we have, let's do the right thing to make the best decision to get the desired end result both you and I want. If you come from the perspective, and it's very like stoic philosophy kind of perspective, which is, seeking truth instead of trying to be wrong or right, that's gonna help you a lot when it comes to dealing with conflict. Because whenever I get into an argument, or not really argument, but any type of conflict, what tends to happen is the other person is lashing out, they're getting very emotional, and I'm not even participating in that, right? I'm just looking for the truth, and I just say something like, hey, look, I'm not trying to be wrong or right. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong. I understand that your perspective is valid, and I'm trying to empathize with you here. What I'm trying to do really is get to the truth so that both you and I can get to an understanding. And with that understanding, we could do the right thing to get the end result. Is that all right with you, right? So in a way, it's kind of like when somebody has a conflict with me, they're really just fighting themselves, right? They're lashing out, supposedly at me, but really they're fighting themselves. They're making themselves frustrated. And it's my job to calm them down and help them realize that it's not about who's wrong or right? It's about finding the truth. And this is, it's not super easy to do, because not only do you have to have the stoicism to, not get emotional, but look for the truth, you also have to inspire the other person to also think in the same way in that moment. And a lot of times it's very difficult to bring someone's level of consciousness higher to help them become more aware that, they should seek truth rather than be emotional. But if you're able to do that, you're gonna avoid a lot of unnecessary conflict in your life, because you're not fighting back at them, and you're helping them also, in a way, become a better person. And in the end result, it's gonna be much better when both sides are calm and they work together versus both sides miscommunicating and butting heads. And a common pitfall that I see a lot of people fall into is that they might say like, oh, I'm so aware and I'm so conscious that, I have my own strong opinion, but if someone gave me a different perspective, I would be willing to listen to it. And then I find that those people that say those kind of things so openly, or like they try to make it sound like they're a better person because they can do that, they tend to not really do that. And they tend to put other people down and think their opinion is better than another person, you know, for whatever reason, whether it's their background, status, how much money they're making, whatever. So even if you're aware of these ideas, and even if you resonate with the idea of seeking truth rather than trying to fight the other person and prove that they're wrong, right? For many people, even if they are aware of this idea, it's still very difficult for them to catch themselves in the act and actually do that. So, the common pitfall again is like, if you really resonate with this idea and you feel like you're someone who knows how to control their emotions, really audit yourself and see if you're really doing it in your situations where you do handle conflict. Because I personally find that most people that say these things find it difficult to actually do, right? It's all talk, no action. And even myself, I'm aware of these things too. I'm teaching it to you guys, but sometimes I have to check myself and be like, oh, actually, you know what? I need to apologize because I was trying to prove the other person was wrong and I was right, right? So even with me knowing sometimes I'm not perfect as well, but as long as you become aware of it and you make improvements over time, then I think that's the best you can do. So if I were to break down all these lessons into very simple steps that you can follow, here's what I would recommend you do to handle conflict, right? First, you want to, when you're in the conflict, understand where the conflict is coming from. Usually it's miscommunication. Then you want to empathize with the other person and see where they're coming from. Why do they see that perspective that may be different from yours? Then you want to use the facts and share how you feel, disarm the other person so they're not attacking you anymore and they are just working to get to the truth. And once they are disarmed and they're less emotional and you got the facts, then you guys can actually work together to come out with a solution. And that is pretty much that. And so those are very basic steps, but to actually execute it on the fly and be successful doing it will take a little practice. They're simple steps, but they're not that easy for everyone to learn. But I'm sure, if you try it out a few times, you get the hang of it, you'll definitely start improving your communication skills and your conflict management skills as well. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what was your #1 takeaway. And if you're someone who is looking to, start a sales career, or if you're in the beginning and you're looking for extra training, I actually got a free program, a free training for you. Link is in the description, so you wanna make sure you check that out. With that said, my name is Patrick Dang, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.